Hello, second grade. Today is Wonderful Wednesday. It's Wednesday, April 29th. And what's wonderful about today for me is that hopefully later today I will have some new seesaw posts from you. I really love looking at your seesaw posts. I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's a great way for us to stay connected. So please keep working on those seesaw posts. And remember, if you want to do a seesaw post where you just add something on your own, you can do that. You don't always have to respond to an activity that I created. You can create your own. For example, maybe you want to just talk to me. Maybe you want to just tell me about some things going on in your life, or tell me how you're feeling, or maybe you want me to just hear you reading something on your own. You can just go click the plus and make a video and send it to me. Or you could click the plus and show me a picture of something you created. I love to see what you come up with on your own. So feel free to add something to your seesaw journal at any time. You can do that on your own. I want to remind you to watch the videos that are on other playlists too. Remember the 10-Minute Tuesday playlists. I love to see the views on those 10-Minute Tuesdays go up. The teachers at Nevlin, all the staff at Nevlin have put together those 10-Minute Tuesday videos just for you if you just want to hear a story. So be sure to watch those. Also remember that Mr. Mickelson has a playlist full of math videos that you can watch. So go to the second grade playlist that Mr. Mickelson has made. He's worked really hard on those. So that's a way to do some more math as well. So it's time for us to read. And you know what we're doing today in our Magic Treehouse book? We are finishing the book. So go ahead and get your book. Pause this if you don't have it right now. And we will go ahead when you are ready and we will read chapter 9. Now when we left off at the end of chapter 8, you probably remember that Jack and Annie were running back to the treehouse and all of a sudden they finally saw the lions. And remember that Jack's heart gave a jump because it surprised him. So let's find out what happens in chapter 9. It should look like this, and it's called Tiptoe. I will look at my book, you look at your book. I'll try to read at a pace where you can follow along. And remember, if for some reason you have to stop the video because you can't keep following along, go ahead and stop it and pause it because I want you following along with every word. Chapter 9, Tiptoe. Jack and Annie crouched in the tall grass. There was a big lion, 3 lionesses, and a bunch of cubs. I think they're sleeping, whispered Annie. Yeah, said Jack. For how long? He pulled the Africa book from his pack and opened it. He found a picture of lions sleeping under a tree. He read in a whispery voice. Can you read it in a whispery voice? After a bride of lions has eaten, they rest for a few hours. The other... What do they have for lunch? Annie broke in. Don't ask, said Jack. He kept reading. Read with me. Sensing that the lions are not hunting at the moment, the other animals graze nearby. If they can graze, then we're safe, said Annie. She started to stand. Wait! Jack pulled her down. Not so fast. He peered around. The words in the book seemed true. The zebras and giraffes didn't seem to be bothered by the lions at all. They might be safe, but I'm not sure about us, said Jack. We need a plan. What if we wait till they leave, said Annie. That could take hours, said Jack. Plus they might be hungry again by then. Oh, right, said Annie. So here's the plan. We tiptoe, said Jack. Tiptoe? Yeah. That's your whole plan? Said Annie. Yeah. Tiptoe to the rope ladder, said Jack, very quietly. Good plan, Annie teased. Just do it, said Jack. He He stood up slowly. Annie stood with him. They began tiptoeing through the grass very slowly. The lion flicked his tail. Jack and Annie froze. Are you looking at the picture? Do you see the hyenas? When his tail was still again, they moved again. Suddenly, high-pitched laughter split the air. Jack and Annie stopped. The hyenas were back. They were standing off to the side, watching Jack and Annie. Jack and Annie made silent monster faces and shook their fists, but the hyenas only laughed some more. Jack felt the hair rise on the back of his neck, but he didn't move an inch. Can you make a connection here? Can you ever think of a time when you were so scared that the hair would rise on the back of your neck? The lion lifted his head and yawned. His giant teeth gleamed in the sunlight. The lion turned his head as he looked around sleepily. Jack held his breath as the lion's gaze rested on him. The lion sat straight up. His piercing yellow eyes met Jack's. Jack's heart raced. His mind raced. He remembered something he'd read. Lions avoid giraffes. Do you remember learning that? Jack looked around. There was a giraffe walking toward the tree that the magic tree house was in. Suddenly he had a new plan. "Get under that giraffe," he whispered. "No, you're the one who's nuts," Annie whispered back. But Jack grabbed her hand. He pulled her over to the giraffe and underneath it. Do you think that's a good plan? The giraffe's legs were so long, Jack and Annie could stand up under it. Can you picture this? Visualize it. That's another skill good readers do. They stop and they visualize. Jack's head barely brushed the giraffe's golden belly. The tall creature froze for a few seconds. Then she moved slowly toward the tree. Jack and Annie walked in the same rhythm as the giraffe. They got closer and closer to the treehouse, and closer to the pride of lions. Did you know a group of lions is called a pride? The big lion had stood up. He watched them moving under the giraffe. When the rope ladder was just a few feet away, Jack and Annie dashed out from under the giraffe to the rope ladder. Annie scrambled up first. Jack followed right behind her. As they climbed, the lion growled and leaped at the ladder. The hyenas laughed. Jack climbed faster than he had ever climbed. He leaped after Annie into the treehouse. Do you see them climbing up fast in your book? Annie had already unrolled the scroll. The riddle was gone. Remember, they solved it? In its place was one shimmering word: honey. Jack grabbed the Pennsylvania book. He opened it and found the picture of Frog Creek Woods. Do you remember what they need to do to go back? He says it like all one word. "I wish we could go there," he said. Just then, the giraffe stuck her head through the window. "Bye, honey," said Annie, and she kissed the giraffe on the nose. The wind started to blow. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still. Absolutely still. Do you think they're going to make it back home now? Chapter 10 is called After Lunch. Maybe that explains why this is called Lions at Lunchtime. Jack opened his eyes. His heart was still racing. Hyena laughter still rang in his ears. "We made it," said Annie. "Yes," said Jack, "but it was very close." Jack took another moment to calm down. Then he pulled the Africa book out of his pack and put it with the other books. Annie put the scroll with the other two scrolls. The giraffe was the true honey on that trip, she said. Sweet and golden, with danger all around it. "Yep," Jack said, And now we have just one riddle to go. Yep, said Annie. Ready? Ready. She started down the ladder. Jack followed. When they hit the ground, they walked through the sunlit woods. It's time for lunch, said Jack. I'm full from our picnic, said Annie. Same here, said Jack. What do we tell Mom? Said Annie. We say we ate our sandwiches coming back from the store, said Jack. What if she asks why? Said Annie. Oh, just say we had a picnic with a Maasai warrior in Africa, said Jack. Annie laughed. Right, she said, because we didn't want him to be mad at us for taking his honey. Right, said Jack. Do you understand why they're saying it this way? Because it seems so unbelievable. The honey from a beehive that a honey guide led us to. Right, said Annie. And that happened after an elephant gave me a shower and we scared off 2 hyenas. Right, said Jack. And after you fell into a mud hole because you were helping 1,000,000 wildebeests migrate across a river. Right, said Annie. And all that was before a giraffe saved us from a lion. Right, said Jack. Jack and Annie left the Frog Creek woods and started up their sunny street. They were silent for a moment. Then Jack pushed his glasses into place. We better just say we ate our sandwiches on the way home from the store, he said. Right, said Annie. And if Mom asks why, started Jack. We'll just say it's a really long story, said Annie. It is a really long story, isn't it? Right, said Jack, with like 10 chapters. Annie laughed. Good plan, she said. Very good plan, said Jack. They crossed their yard. They went up their steps and through their front door. We're back, Annie shouted. Great, called Mom. Ready for lunch? And that's how it ends. So remember we talked about making connections and how good readers make connections between books? Now you have read 2 Magic Tree House books, and maybe you can think about what connections you can make between the 2 texts. Remember there's 3 kinds of connections: text to self, text to text, and text to, do you know it? Text to world, right? So I want you to think about some of the connections you can make between the 2 texts that we have read. Now remember they said they need to solve 1 more riddle because Morgan Le Fay gave them 4 riddles to solve to become master librarians, and those were found in books 9, 10, 11, and 12. So I would encourage you, if you want to read another Magic Tree House book, to try to find number 12, which is the book that comes in order right after this one. I'm looking it up. It is called Polar Bears Past Bedtime. Remember, there are 28 different Magic Tree House books. Maybe you could read all 28. So here's your assignment for today. If you look at your matrix on Wednesday, you need to actually get your own piece of paper. And you are going to go back to page 13 and read the riddle. What is the answer? Draw a picture and tell me on Seesaw, or tell a family member. Now, I only want you to just tell a family member if you don't have Seesaw. Almost all of you have been doing Seesaw posts. So if you can do Seesaw, I would like you to go to Seesaw and find the activity that says Lions at Lunchtime 4-29, because I created an activity for you, which is the exact same thing as what the must do says on your matrix. And it guides you through the steps of what you need to do, where you will draw the picture on your own piece of paper and you will take a picture of it and tell me about it after you click the microphone, and then upload it to your online Seesaw journal. So I look forward to seeing those later today. And now it's time for math, so please go get your math packet. Hello again, 2nd grade. It is time for math with Mrs. Mickelson. Let's look at what we worked on yesterday. So get out your math packet. Remember, we started talking about line plots and how a line plot is a way to organize data. And you can see how often a certain number occurs in data. So we did the first one together. This is how number 1 should look. You should make sure that your x's are all about the same size. And here's your answer for number 2. That's how your line plot should look. And remember, you had your talk math question. How are line plots similar to tally charts? You should have said something about how they are both a way to organize and analyze data, just like our essential question. Or both are used to show how often a certain number occurs in the data. And let's look at our matrix for today. And it is Wednesday, so you are to do independent practice numbers 3 through 7 on page 569 to 570 in your math packet. Be sure to do the right math too. So, this is the page you are doing on your own today. And you are going to make line plots according to the different tally charts. So it looks like you will do 3 of those. And we will go over the answers tomorrow. Then we have some brain builders on the back. Let's look at those. Eli asked 10 classmates how many glasses of water they drink each day. 2 people said 1. 3 people said 0. 3 people said 4. Everyone else said 6. So that shouldn't be too difficult for you. Just make sure you have a total of 10 X's. Number 7, Sydney asked 15 friends how many times they exercise each week. The same number of people said 1 time and 3 times. 5 people said 2 times. 4 people said 4 times. So if I was going to do this problem, I would start filling in what you know first. And what you know is that 5 people said 2 times, so you'll put 5 X's above the 2. 4 people said 4 times, so 4 X's above the 4. And then figure out how many more X's you need to make so that you have 15 friends surveyed, so 15 X's total, and you have to have the same number above the 1 and the 3. And I will show you the answer tomorrow. And here's the right math question. Don't forget to do this. Can you use a line plot to show data about favorite color? Would that work? So you think about that, write your answer, and we will go over it tomorrow. Have a wonderful Wednesday.